So, this show was. Oh, yes, this. Um, you in case you're wondering, Scotty, the voluptuous beard, what happened? Well, quick tangent before we get to the topic of this video. Scotty messed it up. Even looking at myself in the camera, it still looks weird because I'm so used to seeing myself with a beard. But last night, I was getting very blocked by this beard. Last night, from when I'm recording this and when I'm uploading it, I'll be on the same day. Getting very bugged by it, so I tried to trim it. Take a little bit of this side, a little bit of this side, which resulted in this, which was fine, but these are still uneven, so I tried to trim the sides. I'm like, well, hold on. I needed to shave the rest of my face anyway, so I did that, but once I did that, this was also shorter. It looked kind of weird, so I said, nah, let me shave it down. So I took the clippers and I shaved it down to where it's just like stubble. And like, okay, I'll just go back from here. But it was very much smaller and it would have grown back different. So I'm like, screw it. Shaved it all off. So here I am. The beard will be back. I promise. It will be back. It was the longest I've ever had a beard. And I guess I need to learn how to trim a beard because it was just, I don't know. But it is very jarring to look at myself right now. Like, I looked at myself a couple of times last night and I just, you look younger, right? You shave it off, you look younger. And here I am talking about this. So let's actually talk about what I came to talk about. What's up? Scott Pilgrim Takes Off is a Netflix anime-like cartoon series. I just said three different words that essentially mean the same thing. And it was brought to my attention, I gotta say this, I'm required, by Big LT. He's the one who informed me this was on there, and he wanted me to do episode-by-episode reviews. No, I could have, but I'm not going to. I'm like, what after episode by episode? Are they releasing them one by one? No, they released them all. It's Netflix. We're all on there. So I just decided I'm going to watch all the episodes at once. But I don't know, my want to watch these was few and far between. And then this morning I'm like, I woke up and I'm like, it's my day off. What am I going to do? What am I going to do this morning? Have breakfast? Okay, I made some breakfast sandwiches. They were delicious, by the way. But what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to watch? I don't have anything to review. I should be, on vacation. I have to record on vacation from doing videos, but because I had everything uploaded. I still have to record my end of the year video, on what's coming in the new year, but also a Steelbook collection video, and I decided I'm going to do a Funko Pop collection video to kind of round that out of all the ones I got complete this year. So next that could be a yearly one. So what am I going to do? Well, I decided, I should finally get to reviewing that Scott Pilgrim show for Big LT. So here I am. What did you make me watch? So I was very confused. I went through a lot of mixed emotions watching an 8-episode cartoon series. You don't think that's going to happen, but it does, at least for me. It starts out, and I was very confused because it seemed like they were just remaking the most shot by shot as an animated cartoon series form. And the thing is, they got most of the cast from the movie, which is right there, yonder, to reprise their role to do the voice here. Even Michael Cera, who I said before I'm not a big fan of. And I'm mixed on this because of what they decide to do. But it starts out basically the same. He has a dream about Ramona. He wakes up, and then he ends up meeting this girl, and then they decide they're gonna be a thing, and then it leads all the way up to his first fight against the first Evil X, Matthew Patel. And as you think it's just about to happen, Patel wins, and Scott just, he go poof, he disappeared, he gone. Supposedly dead, although we do find out later he's not dead. But yeah, and I went, huh? Because that's how the first episode ends, with just that, and I'm like, what? Again, I have to quote Shruti Gatwa, what the hell is going on here? What? I'm left sitting here confused as hell. So, before I continue, a little background on, continuing how I was led to this. So, Big OT told me about this. He said it was an animated series. I'm like, okay. And then he showed me pictures of it, and I'm like, okay, this looks like, well, they're copying the animation style of the graphic novels, which is fine. But then he showed me the opening, and it looks very much like it's kind of like a high puffy Yumi type look, mixed with like every Cartoon Network animation since 2015. Remember Thundercats Roar? It looks like a sharper Clarence to me, like a Steven Universe. You could, this is Steven Universe to cross over, and animation styles wouldn't be that bad. It's a little more Japanese than Steven Universe, for sure, which is like the high puffy Yumi comparison, because that's what I get from it. And I immediately went, he wants me to watch this, he wants me to do a review, and I just kept pushing it off. And finally, you're lucky, I got bored, I had nothing to do, so here I am. Alright, so, yes. So, with the exit of Scott Pilgrim from the series, entitled Scott Pilgrim, by the way, although I will say it is called Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, so he took off, he's gone, but we led to believe he's dead, and he's not. We follow Ramona as the main character, and I immediately went through those emotional issues, the emotional changes, because one, I'm like, okay, that's Michael Cera, but also, why are we killing off the main character, or getting rid of the main character to follow now a female character? Why can't we just call it Ramona Saves Scott Pilgrim or something? Ramona and the Search for Scott Pilgrim, or The Search for Scott Pilgrim, and put Ramona in the front. Why do we have to preface this as a Scott Pilgrim show? Scott Pilgrim is not really a part of the show, although he does come back. It's not a spoiler. It's basically Ramona and everyone else. Young Neil and Wallace and the vegan guy and Gideon. Which, by the way, I thought of this, that Brandon Routh, who played the vegan guy in the movie, was also in the movie with another guy who was playing a character named Gideon, and they were going to be a part of Legends of Tomorrow, but there was a robot AI named Gideon. It's a little too much of a coincidence, and the goblins are going to show up soon. But I just thought of that watching through this. Yes, the vegan powers. By the way, at one point he's eating gravy fries. Are those vegan? I guess there's no milk or anything in gravy. And fries, how do you make fries? You just cut potatoes, right? Potatoes are okay, I guess, right? So I guess gravy fries could be vegan. I guess. He didn't like start to lose his powers or anything, but yeah. But this cartoon's depiction of being vegan is he's eating a celery stalk later. I'm like, that's vegetarian, but then I don't know. Vegan, they eat special. I mean, they eat vegetables, sure, but pardon me, I got an itch. Yeah, so the plot is that Scott Pilgrim has died / disappeared. Everyone but Ramona believes that he's dead. Ramona does not. And Ramona now goes on a quest to try to find out what happened to Scott. Meanwhile, due to the fact that Scott is not around to fight the evil X's break down, and Matthew Patel loses his mind and takes over the evil X's, but the evil X's want nothing to do with it, so they split out and go their separate ways, which includes various things. But uh, then young Neil is now supposedly written a screenplay about Scott Pilgrim. It's called Scott Pilgrim's Little Miracle, or whatever it is. Whatever the title of the first book was, that's what it was called. And now he's brought it to Hollywood, and they're making a movie. And the movie is that movie. They're making that, where he's fighting the evil X's and everything. It is verbatim, whatever that is supposed to be, that is what they're making. And Lucas Lee, a.k.a. Chris Evans' character, one of the evil X's, is playing Scott. I understand he's supposed to be a big star, but he's miscast because Scott's got to be played by a loser actor, you know, like Michael Cera. But, you know, I also think that Michael Cera's voice acting in this, he's not trying enough. He doesn't sound like, I know it's been years, but it sounds like Scott's going through puberty. He's trying to do the voice, but it's not, you know, everyone else sounds alright, I guess. But, like, this, everything just changes. Like, at one point, Gideon reverts back to his name of Gordon Goose, which that's a name, and starts dating Julie, you know, the one who, when she swears, it puts a black box on her face. Aubrey Plaza's character. They start dating, because that's a thing now. And Wallace and Todd Ingram, the vegan guy, they end up being a thing, but then Wallace breaks up with them because Wallace can't hold a relationship. He just likes to do the flings, right? Then Todd wants to get him back, but, you know, there's never ever any indication that Todd was gay. I mean, he did date a woman, right? But, you know, I don't know. There's so many things that change. But they find out that young Neil didn't actually write it. It was sent to him from someone else from 14 years in the future. The future. Yeah. She tracks down, tries to figure out if it's one of the evil X's that did it, which the only ones that are left are the twins, but of course the twins didn't really do it. It's this robot that's following her around. We keep seeing this robot that is working for the twins. But, by the way, I am doing this as if you've already seen the movie, so if you haven't seen the movie, you're probably going, what, why, who, what, who, why, who? Watch the movie, read the books, and you'll figure it out. I am going into this as if you already know about the movie. If you're a fan of Scott Pilgrim stuff, that's what I'm doing. 30 minutes into this video, he explains. But, yeah. So, this screenplay was sent to young Neil from 14 years in the future. How they figured out, I don't know. And it turns out that this robot has something to do with it. And so Ramona ends up going to the future, and this is where it lost me. Okay, so there are 2 points when it lost me, and then it brought me back in the middle, and then it lost me again. Everything just went too much. She doesn't want a future yet, that's right. Because just as she's trying to figure something out, Scott Pilgrim shows up on the friggin' doorstep. She's at Wallace's house. Wallace and Scott's house. And he shows up on the doorstep, and then he explains what happened. Then they go to the future later. But, so... Maybe don't go to the future. Maybe it all just comes crashing down. Anyway, I don't know. I was taken out several times by this. So, you know, I was taken out when Scott Pilgrim, quote unquote, dies. I'm like, what are they doing? Why are they making this a female-led show? What are they doing? What's going on? Then it kind of brought me back with all the other characters that are going on. Scott Pilgrim takes off. He's not there anymore. We're following all these characters, and what happens to him now? I get it now. And then Scott Pilgrim came back, and then we get an episode where he explains what happened. He was brought to the future by himself, because when he appears, he's like, I did it. But no, he didn't do it. Future him. For some reason, voiced by Will Forte, even though when they show future Ramona, it's still voiced by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. They decided that Michael Cera couldn't do an old person voice. So they have Will Forte playing older uh, Scott, which, by the way, is the only voice that changes because they also have older Wallace, who is married to some Japanese guy or some guy that works for Nintendo, I guess. And Scott is still living with him. Uh, and the reason that future Scott or older Scott uh, did this is because he did it to warn Scott that he's going to face the evil exes when, but then they're going to end up getting divorced. They're going to get married, they're going to end up getting divorced or separated, whatever. And so he's done this to prevent that from happening. Spurred on by Wallace, who said, well, too bad you don't have a time machine. You can go back and do it. Just sarcastic things that people say, but he took it literal. So he and twins, who are now in a band together, made this time machine. Although no one ever addresses the problem that if this works, it would then create a paradox, because if current Scott Pilgrim does not go through with this, then there is no reason for future old Scott Pilgrim to do all this. Therefore, paradox. Reality breaks in on itself. So, a lot of times you see future stuff, unless it's stuff like Terminator, where it's always meant to happen that way, and Bill and Ted, everything's supposed to happen that way. And you have Back to the Future where things change, but again, that's the Back to the Future paradox where he's going to cease to exist because his own mother has fallen in love with him. So, which is a very 80s kind of concept. But here, yeah, they don't address that because this is a cartoon and it's based on a comic. So, we're not going to be realistic, although some comic book stuff is, but this is a cartoon, so yeah. So eventually, I believe the future one supposedly convinces him that, he eventually gets back with Ramona, and they decide they are going to try to do something because, he's convinced by older Ramona, I think it is, that, or someone convinced that you could change it, you can make it better, you can do it, whatever. And so he goes back, and as they go to kiss, there's a force field on the kiss. And for some reason, I think it's one of the evil 7Xs. I don't know. So I try to track him down, and everybody's at this premiere for what is now a stage play based on the screenplay. I don't know. And then evil older Scott Pilgrim. You see how ridiculous this is getting? I was really losing it. I'm like, what are we doing here? Why couldn't it just be... You know what would have made sense? It's an evil older version of Julie, who found out about... Who found out from the robot, because the robot went through, about what happened if Scott Pilgrim disappeared. She would marry Gideon and then rise to power and be able to crush Scott Pilgrim. Wouldn't that make much more sense than it's a evil future version of Scott who doesn't want him to marry a woman because they had one... We found out it's one little fight that they had, and apparently that was just the end of the relationship, supposedly, to him. And it was like one little argument they had after they got married. Shortly after the honeymoon, after they got married. Which, by the way, they show them going to a honeymoon in California, and they show a minion. If this is following the timeline of the movie came out in 2009. Minions weren't a thing yet. The first Despicable movie doesn't come out to 2010. So Minions weren't a thing yet. Although, maybe by the time they got married, it was. I don't know. But, I'm just saying, keep the timeline. If we're going by it's an alternate version of that, then we have to expect that it takes place in the same time as that. Okay? I'm just saying, they're all the same age as they were in that, so... And even if I'm wrong, and Minions did come out. Hold on. I have the collection right here. Hold on. And it's Despicable Me, by the way. Pretty sure. Yeah. 2009. Okay, so it's the same year, but they wouldn't be popular enough to have something at Universal Studios unless they waited 2 years to get married, which by then could have. But I'm just saying, it's a little iffy on the timeline there. But anyway, yeah. And eventually they're able to defeat evil, like the older version, because our Ramona and future older Ramona fused together to make Super Ramona or some shit like that. Very anime type thing. And yeah, everything is back to normal. Except for it's still in the universe that was created after Scott Pilgrim disappeared. So not everything goes, because, Scott's whole thing is that he's still got to fight the evil exes because he thinks that's why they can't kiss, which was never really a thing. And like, there's no force put around the kiss. They just couldn't date but none of them are like they were before. But, Roxanne or Roxy, whatever her name is helping Vegan Boy get his vegan back. Because he moved on from it, I guess. He's eating other stuff, but. And then there's a post-credit scene that really doesn't set up anything because they've already said that there's no intention for a second season because to get all these people back together for this, it's kind of like this is the end. They've been teasing maybe we're going to do a sequel, but to get every one of those actors back just to do it again. They got lucky the first time, who knows? But the post-credit scene or mid-credit scene, whatever, shows Gideon and Julie wanting to get revenge. Why couldn't they be the villains of this thing? Why is it? You see, because I was with it. And then evil future Scott lost me. Sorry. That becomes incredibly stupid. Once they revealed who was behind it, I went, you had it. You had something going, and you ruined it by having a stupid twist. And the more they elaborate on why he did it, the more stupid it became, especially when you find out they had one little argument and he decided it was over, and then for 14 years, if it was just because of one little argument, why did Ramona never come back to talk to him? Why did it make it seem like 14 years and she never once tried to talk to him? She never once tried to come back and reconcile. They just had an argument. See, that's what I'm having trouble thinking about, is it's 14 years. If it was a couple years, sure, 14 years, but she never tried to talk to him. She never tried to reconcile. She never tried to figure out why he just walked off. See, because it just, I don't know. It's very hard to swallow. You know what I mean? But overall, for the most part, I did enjoy it. And then the last 2 episodes just sort of fell in the pooper. So, I don't know. I don't usually rate TV shows, but I give it a C. A C plus, maybe. But it's just, I don't know. It was fine. The theme song got catchy as it went on. I was bopping along to it. It was fine. At first, I'm just like, what is... because when he showed it to me, I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then it started, I'm like, okay, it's still okay. And every episode, it just sort of, I just think you should just use that song that, What's-Her-Face's band, Envy's band plays. Hello again. They do play it for a short time in this. They do have that because... although they ruined it by having the crowd sing with it. I can't hear the actual song if it's all the crowd. You know what I mean? But It's fine. The show was whatever. It was fine. It was that was one name of the episode. Whatever. It was fine. It was nothing. I don't know. I never read any of the books. I'm a fan of the movie, and I was expecting maybe a sequel to the movie. Maybe we would follow, and also to find out like that everything they went through in the movie was for nothing because they ended up breaking up after one teeny argument. It was kind of like, it's one of those things because it's sort of a sequel, I guess. But it's one of those things where it feels like, okay, we have to write a sequel. What do we do? So it could be technically a sequel because all the events did happen. But then what do we do? Oh, we got to break them up so they can get back together again. It's a Ghostbusters. It's Ghostbusters to it. Yeah. No. By having them break up, you then eliminate everything that he did in the first one. But you went in an interesting direction that kind of course corrected. Don't just make it, very generic. Oh, they broke up, and so now they gotta get back together. It's sort of, I don't even know if the future versions do get back together. I don't know. But Scott Pilgrim was never that smart. I also still don't like the character of Knives. I never understood why she was even a character in this. Like, I don't know. She was even a character originally. Like, what is the point of Knives? That's what I want to know. What is the point of Knives? Why is Scott dating a 17-year-old? I don't know. There was never really... And even in this, with everyone changing the way things are going, there really is no point in Knives because at least she had something like trying to get revenge in the movie. Here she does nothing. I'm just saying. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Scott Pilgrim's Takes Off? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Sorry about that. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.